All right, everybody, welcome to Every Damn Friday. So this is a little bit different. I've got somebody another. I've only had one other person from another country, but this guy's at least on our continent. It's a I think it's a good time to be a guy named Zach. There's a lot of popular Zachs out there right now, but the one we have with us, Mr. Zachary Lucky, wonderful singer-songwriter. I think it said the laureate of lonesome song.
That's what people say, I guess. I don't
That's
know.
on. That's what it's Facebook official. That's where I read that.
That's what they say. Yeah.
That's what they say. Well, man, they're right. You do have a super like you've already smiled more than I expected. You have a super lonesome sound and a growl too. I like
Yeah.
the growl.
I
It's
appreciate that, man.
it's
I mean,
it's
it's
maybe my
it's
favorite part because I didn't expect it. It's just kind of like this guy's chewing on gravel or something.
man, you know what? I get that from people, and it's funny because it's not something that's intentional. I mean, you listen to my early stuff. I've been doing this for like 15 years now, or thereabouts, and I sound totally different. I started this. I was a kid, in my early 20s, basically in high school still. Just coming out of high
Yeah.
school, and it's taken me like a bunch of years to kind of find my voice and kind of find the music that I want to make. And um, but yeah, but I get that from people. They like the where the voice is at now, and it's kind of such a funny thing because I feel like I don't really have a ton of control over it.
No, that's
Um,
okay. It's probably from all the like smoky bars and cigarettes and whiskey.
maybe, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton about you either, and but from the sounds of it, you've done your fair share of touring for a
Well,
bunch of years, and
you mentioned something, and I don't care just to dive right into it. Like, it how do you feel? Because you, how old are you?
I never get this right anymore. I think I'm 35 right now. I'm going to be 36 in a couple weeks. So
All right, so I'm 45 and equally been doing this a long time and a lot of iterations of stuff. Like I was in a college band and then then I did another band that was primarily just like country and I had one that was kind of a little bit more southern rock and then I've done the solo thing pretty much since COVID. Um, but that's the thing. It's like if you love music you probably started out really liking somebody, you were a fan of them, and you emulate them, and you try to like do that thing. And with all the, we're out there competing with 20 somethings, right?
yeah, man, that's crazy.
And they don't know shit. Like they have no life experience, none of that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
They probably never even lost their voice, on a tour yet, and had to like growl through it. But it's like I think it takes you till your age maybe. I was about 35 when I started saying, this is what I really like, and this is what I like to sound like, and then you kind of also get to the point where you're like, I don't even care, like what
yeah,
am I chasing? Like who cares if
yeah,
these people like this or not?
yeah, yeah,
Have you kind
man.
of gone through that where you've had different phases, or have you kind of always been the same guy musically?
There's musically, there's definitely been different phases, but there's always been like this kind of north star, this zone that I've been trying to get to. Um, and I feel like this record is probably the closest that we've come to it. Yeah, to be honest, I've never really loved the studio. I've always felt more at home on the road, more at home playing a show after a 10-hour drive kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've always found it hard to go into a studio and recreate what I feel and what we do on the stage. And this record, we basically came off the road and went straight into the studio. We just done a run around Eastern Canada and went straight in with our buddy Benjamin Dakota Rogers, and it was probably the most comfortable I've been yet, and just was kind of really able to.
It was road tested
Yeah,
and
yeah,
really locked in.
yeah. We've been playing these songs every night for 10 nights in a row, and it just kind of felt right to just punch it.
I mean,
Um,
I've done it every way. Like I've done it where you wrote songs while you were there,
yep.
and they were fresh. I've done it where there's songs that you played for a year. Um, the record I'm getting ready to release, I put a stereo mics in front of me, and if I couldn't sing it and play it all the way through in one take, then I wasn't going to use it.
Yeah, man. I
So
mean,
it's
I've always kind of been a believer of that. It's like it's the first or second take, really,
yeah,
and you can sit there and you can pick it apart all day. But like yeah, over the years, it's just kind of been like I like to think of it like you're sitting there whittling something, like there's all this stuff that I was trying to do at the start, and it's just everything's getting whittled away, you know. And obviously, I'm looking to get people like Guy Clark and Towns Van Zandt and John Prine and the way those records sound and feel. Nick Drake,
yeah.
there's a handful of guys who just um,
They're stark, and they
they're just sort of their own thing, like it's and all of them individual,
no production tricks, no like
no,
maybe there was a $2,000 mic, but for the most part,
yeah,
they push play and
and
they
yeah,
got the essence.
and that's what you got, um, and I've always been really attracted to that. Like I don't know what you hear, especially with this new record, man. I mean, I think with all of them, a lot of the records over the years we've done analog to tape, and I've liked working in that sort of at that speed and at that fashion, But um,
It's very much like you feel like a craftsman when you do it that way.
a little bit, and there's just nothing to hide behind,
Yeah,
And I've liked to think with all these records that what you hear on the record is what you're going to hear at the show. And
yeah.
so,
I'm very visual, so it's like and I'm like when I'm listening, I'm splitting the parts up, and like you kind of feel like the drums are over here, and I can hear this guitar's playing this way, and if you can't feel that,
yeah,
then it's hard to imagine that you're sitting there listening to that person.
yeah.
And you've definitely captured that in these songs.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really fly with like young listeners, like it's you listen to records these days, and I just kind of go like, yeah, no wonder this stuff doesn't
It's compressed, like
loud.
all the needles are over.
Yeah,
It's
man.
They turn it up to where it's like you can tell like the mics are like, yeah, it hurts my ears a little bit.
Yeah,
Now I did have a couple guys on here the other day, and they're like 21 and 20, but they're kind of like old souls, and I kind of could appreciate they were able to kind of they're called low gap, and they they kind of figured it out. Like they're really good at the technology stuff and the social media and all that, but they also really like going and touring,
yeah,
and so they're kind of marrying that. Which I've, as a 45-year-old guy, I have I have struggled. Well, I'll give you a perfect example. So it's great to be on all these playlists and all those things, right? When like New
yeah,
Music Fridays, and
yeah,
because it's huge when you're independent, and if you can
yeah,
get
man.
if you're the 10th song on that list, you're going to get thousands of spins. And I'm releasing one on Friday, and I had messaged a specific person at one of these larger sites, but I copy and pasted a message that I'd sent to another person, and I put the wrong name and the wrong
Yeah,
site,
dude.
and then he hearted it, and I thought, oh, this guy's well, that's that, and uh, so I just went ahead. I replied back, and I was like, "Hey, look, man, obviously you are not Jack, and I apologize, but you all did have me on the list, and I mean all the same things, and I feel like an idiot." And he's like, "Man, don't worry about it. It's fine. You'll be on the playlist." But it was like sometimes I think I'm figuring it out, and then the world shows me that I am a father of three, uh, who is a lot better off just sitting there playing guitar and not fiddling with the computer.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Kind of what has been your experience with that? Uh, trying to navigate that.
Yeah, I mean, like right from I mean, you go like all the way back, like when I was doing this at the start, we were like, we were coding MySpace pages to make them look a certain way,
Uh huh.
and running
Make
pure
sure you
volume.
put that song up there, the first
Oh,
one.
yeah, man. Yeah. Like I've always really kind of liked the back end, and I've been independent pretty much my entire career, aside from having a few people help me with booking here and there. But I've always really been interested in the business part of it too. There's like that's a big part of it. Uh,
Well,
I,
it's just like right now, I'm trying so I don't do this full time for a living, right?
yeah,
I did, and I have, but I'm in a really cool place where I'm really enjoying it. I'm making music that I'm proud of, and I'm just trying to like game the system. Like, how can a guy sitting on his farm, middle Kentucky, kind of figure this thing out? Like, how do we figure out the algorithm? How do and it's been kind of neat, you know.
Yeah, man.
And and there's nobody in the world that's working harder for Zachary than Zachary, and I've experienced that. I was an idiot when I was young, and I had a really good manager, and probably had a really good opportunity, and I was sitting around waiting for them to do all the work because I was
Man,
23.
I
You
say
know,
this to people every day. It's like a lot of people will send me messages, be like, "Hey, how do you do this? How do you get this show? How do you go here?" It's like, man, no one is going to work as hard as you do ever. I got some buddies who are in, pretty reputable bands up here in Canada, who probably could just sit there and not lift a finger, but they're still busting their asses, you know. And he said to me, it's like, man, you can get an agent, you get a manager, get a label, all these people. No one's gonna work as hard as you do. No one's gonna care as much as you do. And with this
well,
record,
and I've got a good friend here, a guy named Nicholas Jamerson. I don't know if you've
yeah,
heard of him.
yeah, I've heard of his name for sure.
He is he's kind of in a place where he should be a lot bigger than he is, but he's real comfortable, like
Yeah,
kind of being. He's like,
yeah,
if I get bigger, then it's going to take more people, and it's
yeah.
more production, and it's going to cost more, then I lose some control. He said, I'm really trying to stay in that sweet spot of, you know, I can fill a nice sized
Yeah.
room, and I'm the guy, I'm the guy behind the curtain.
I love that, man. You know what? I feel like so many people, when you start doing this, it's like, how big can we get? You go to one city, and then 6 months later you come back, you want to play the bigger venue. Man, it sounds kind of like counterintuitive, but recently I've been like, how small can I make this? Like, how tight? I would much rather play these small rooms full of people, you know?
Yeah,
And yeah, totally right. You get to a certain point, it gets bigger, there's more people involved. Like, I don't even know. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I obviously want a career. I've been fortunate. I've been able to pay my bills for 15 years doing this.
yeah.
Uh, but I don't know if I want what comes with the next part. I got two daughters, and this has been a big year for us. Like, we were on the road. I think we did like maybe 100, 110 shows this year.
And I would say traveling Eastern Canada and getting over to Central Canada is probably not the easiest traveling.
Well, you know what, man? Like, touring Canada for us is like clockwork because
Okay.
it's only so big. You know exactly what you're getting into in every single city. You've been there 5 or 10 times. The spring, we were down in the States for 3 months and did about 35, 36 shows down there. And like, it's a whirlwind for us because it's a brave new world,
Yeah.
totally different zone. The drives are equally as big as Canada, but a little more hectic.
Yeah.
The exchange rate is insane.
I
And then
bet.
the whole time you're down there and you're like, man, it kind of feels like we're not supposed to be here, even
Well,
though we've got the visa and we've done all the work to do it properly, but it's like, oh, it's wild.
yeah, I'm going to the UK
Yeah,
next spring,
yeah,
and
man.
I'm just going to be a guy playing little shitty pubs, but it's like I've got a following there. Like I saw one of your videos. You're like, hey, I'm going to Ontario. There's 700 of y'all that are following me on Spotify. It's like you've got people in these places, and again, that's kind of the neat thing too. Like you were talking about, you can those tools are there, and if you can figure out how to use them, I mean, if Indianapolis, Indiana is your number one streaming town, then you ought to be able to get a decent little show going there, if you can reach those people.
That's the big question. Like, that's this whole tour we did in the spring down in the States. It was booked around top cities on Spotify. And it turns out, like, oh, yeah, no, just because you have 300 people in Seattle does not mean you're bringing 300 people to your show. Just because there's 200 people in Denver does not mean that 200 people are coming to your show. But in the same breath, we'd roll into like somewhere in Ohio or something. There was I'm trying to remember what town it was, but it was somewhere in Ohio-ish. And we had people who drove 2 or 3 hours because they were like, "Oh, we saw on Spotify that you were playing here, and I've been listening since 2010, and I've never seen you, and you never come down here, so we had to drive 2 hours to come see you play." And it was just like, "Oh my God." you
And
know,
that's all you. That's
and
if
that's
they've
it.
been the
That's
only
it,
people
man.
there, it wouldn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's it, man. I'll play for people like that every single night.
Well,
That's what I want, you know.
I have been. It seems like Canada, and maybe I'm sure we're just getting a little taste of it, but everything that's come from Canada that's made its way down here has just been fantastic. And one of my good friends played with Coulter for a while,
Yeah.
and you know it was great to meet him and his whole sensibility. I
Yeah.
love because he's
Yeah.
like, I really don't want to play. I want to go work cattle, but I'm gonna play enough shows to make sure that these guys get paid and then I get to go back home to
Yeah, man.
Saskatchewan and have a
Yeah.
good and have fun. But I think you know you guys have been a big. It is weird how you have to leave sometimes. Uh, you have to like you'll come to the states and kind of and maybe get some popularity, and then finally people at home will be like, you know,
Dude, yeah.
oh yeah, man, you're
Man,
great.
a prophet is never welcome in his hometown, you know.
You're right.
100%. Like it's yeah, the Coulter effect is real, you know.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like I'm also from Saskatchewan. That's where
Okay.
majority of my career was spent coming out of there and
So
have
you
lived.
guys know each other well then.
Yeah, well, not super well, but you know, we're on yeah, we talk every now and then and man, I remember being around when he was young and coming up and being like, "What's this?" You know, and then
Yeah.
just watching it take off. It's just wild. So many great songwriters from Canada, man. You know, you look Coulter and I mean Nolene Hoffman is just blown up.
So
Um,
I'm good friends with the I'm friends with their record label
yeah,
owners, and
yeah,
they've just curated such good stuff.
yeah,
Um, and
100%.
you need I need to introduce you to them because they apparently they like Canadian people.
Yeah,
Um, but uh, but yeah, I've just been super impressed, and same with yours. Like it's just kind of like it's very I don't know what the word is. It's like stoic. Like you know, it's like I feel like it must be what it's like to be from Saskatchewan. You know,
yeah,
a hard winter. You know, like I'm geographically an idiot when it comes to Canada. But
yeah. We're like north of North Dakota. You know,
okay.
you go North Dakota and then just keep going north. You know,
So yeah, yeah, there's probably a lot of cold
it's
dark
pretty
days.
stark up there, man. Like it's yeah, I've been out here in Ontario for 10 years and there's not a day goes by that I don't miss the prairies. Um, I didn't necessarily choose to move out here, but life just brought me out here, you know. And not a day goes by that I don't wish I could get back there because it is like it'll be my muse forever, you know.
But it's like I actually live. I bought my grandparents' house when
Oh wow.
they passed away like 3 weeks apart. Like it was they were like a lock and a key, and
Yeah.
grandma died and granddad was just right after.
Yeah,
And
right on.
we were able to buy the house, and then about 10 years later, we were able to buy the farm. And you know, so now it's like I've got this cosmic pool that I've had my whole life. You know, I'm finally here, and I think
Yeah.
that has a lot to do with settling in and being like, I'm gonna. Well, I've got a good friend, and I've used this more than once on this podcast, but she was like, you know, you spend a lot of time trying to sit at other people's table, and she said, I'm just going to build my own table, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I've kind of adopted here. Of course, I got 10 years on you. At 35, I was touring all the time. I was doing it full time. I'd
Yeah.
quit teaching high school. I was a high school agriculture teacher,
Oh
so
wow.
I was the FFA guy and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know animal science and all that stuff. And I quit doing that, and we went full time. You know, had videos on CMT and all that.
Yeah,
Played
yeah.
with cool people, all that good stuff. But it's like you said, it's like we started chasing some stuff, and it started kind of feeling desperate. Like you know, like everything we did, it didn't seem like it was quite good enough to to satisfy all the people that we were working
Man,
with. And
man, no one wants to be a part of the party until the party's happening, you
yep,
know? Um, like you look at Coulter, like it's just the fact that he's playing that music, that kind of music to all these.
it,
You go to a
it should
Coulter
not be
show
cool.
and it's like, it's the weirdest experience because there's like young cowboys who drive trucks. There's like people in basketball shorts. You know, it's just there's old people, old folkies, you know, it's such a mix. Man,
Yeah,
no,
you should not be able to fill up a stadium with get along little doggy.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
but
But
I love it, and I love how it's smashed all convention, and then like you said, it's paved the way for a lot of storytellers again. You know,
Well,
it
and I
makes
mean the reason it really works, I think, is because it's just he's just doing him. This is what he is. And I think for all of us songwriters, it's like I get stuck in these feedback loops, because like you look around and you see what people are doing, you're going, oh man, Zach Top, that looks really cool. I would like to make a country record like that.
yeah,
Oh, Zach Bryan is singing these whiny folk songs. Maybe I should make a record like that. But it's like, you know what? It's only ever going to work if you're just like 100% you. The most anything you can do is just be you
yeah.
It sounds really lame to be like, oh, be 100% you, but that's what people want, and that's what they're going to connect with. Like
And
it's.
there is an audience for everybody.
I believe that too, man. Like people get down on me. I post on Threads a lot, and I spout a lot of stuff like this, and uh, you know, I fully 100% believe that, like, yeah, everybody's got somebody out there. It's just about finding them and
And
connecting the dots.
you don't have to steal people's fans either. You
No,
know,
man,
I
no.
like all sorts of stuff. So it's like it's not a competition either. It's like I it's just finding the way to make yourself accessible to those people because that is a big problem. There's a lot of noise. There's a
Man, that's the hardest thing about this day and age is how in the hell do you cut through? There's like I heard the number the other day, how many songs are released every day, and it's just
it's
like
like 150,000.
no
Yeah.
no wonder my songs are not gonna cut through the mix, like unless I'm doing the work to make sure that they're in front of the right people at the right time,
Yeah.
and
And
putting
there's
them in
definitely
people's
strategies
ears.
behind that, and that's and marketing yourself is not a dirty word. You know, self promotion
No, man.
is like it like you gotta like you said you have to send stupid messages to people and screw up and
Well, you
then
were saying
endear
that,
yourself.
yeah, sending the wrong name on the email, man. When we were doing this record, every single, I'm doing there's no one else behind here.
Yeah,
Every time we put a single, there was like 500, 600 emails. It'd be 3 days of me sending emails to people and trying to, yeah, maybe you're copy and pasting some stuff, but I care
but
about the
you
people
want
on
to
the
try to
other
tailor
end.
it too.
Yeah, I care about people on the other end too. Like I learned that a long time ago. It's like we're all in this business. We all have a different role to play, but we're all human beings with kids who are homesick or, a dog that just threw up on the rug or whatever. And we're all just living life. And so you have to make it personal.
And then it like I remember I in the batch of emails that I just sent over the last couple of weeks, I sent one to Trigger Kyle
Yeah, yeah.
at Favorite Country Music, and I was like, look, man, you haven't reviewed any album I've ever put out ever, and look, like if you were ever going to do one, do this one, okay? Like just do this one.
Oh man.
And
Yeah,
he's like, but he always responds,
he always
so
responds, man. It's nice of him to respond.
right, because he didn't have to do that. I know he's getting a million of them. But I'm like, you put a Christmas song from my old band in a playlist once. I'm like, come on, man. Like, and it is like that is kind of embarrassing a little bit, but in some ways, you're breaking through that noise. Really is hanging on one person going, man, I really like this guy.
It just takes one person, man. That's it.
And my dad keeps telling me, he said, the next song, man. He said, it could be, because I'll be like, I don't even know why I'm still recording music. And he's like, the next one might be the one, buddy. You never know. Change your life. And so you
Yeah,
keep
man.
doing it and you can't help it.
Well, you know what? I mean, at this point, I sort of feel like I'm like too deep in this. There's no other way out of this other than through it, man. Like I can't turn around and go back. That way the
Yeah.
door is shut. I got to keep going forward.
What do they say? Like 5 years ago, you wanted to be right where you are.
Dude, I would have killed to be where I am now.
Yeah.
And you look at now and you're like, well, I want to be X, you know. And that's
It takes,
another thing I've been getting good at, it's like setting really reasonable goals with this thing. Like
yeah.
what do I want it to be tomorrow? And then what do I want it to be in 5 years? And what is really important, like what's the point of it? I'm always going to make music, and even at this point, I'll probably keep recording music. But what do I want the career to be?
Well, I told somebody the other day, 'cause he was older than me. I had an artist on here, like a visual artist, and he's 55 and I'm 45. And he's like, man, I'm just now like at a place where I'm doing this full time. And he said, I had another job that paid the bills, and I was real happy to do that. and I'm just now getting to this place. And I'm like, if I live to be 85, that means I've got 40 more years.
Yeah.
It's like I can really, I can, I can cause a lot of trouble in 40 more years.
Oh yeah, man.
And it really is about building a body of work and and like in finding that place.
It's just a constant refining process for me, just really kind of narrowing the scope to that thing, that place I want to be sonically and otherwise with my career, Uh, and it's funny too. I mean, I think a lot of young artists get this thing in their brain that uh, if I'm not paying my bills with my music, I'm not an artist or these things. Uh, you know,
You do what you got to do.
you got to do what you got to. And also, it's like it's not. It's I was that way too, and that's why I am where I am. Because at this juncture, I don't really know anything different. But man, I
We we
wouldn't I wouldn't
I was in a
recommend
band
it
called
to
Jericho
anybody.
Woods. Yeah, I was in a band called Jericho Woods, and we quit right before COVID.
Yeah,
And so I went back to a professional job,
yeah,
and thank God I did. Like
yeah, man.
I wouldn't have survived, because I'm like you. I have three kids and a wife, and we got the farm, and we got cars and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, dude.
And uh, but it's been like serendipity because like my kids have needed me more during this time. Like I'm going to all the games and I'm doing all the things and I'm still getting to do the music stuff. So it's like, you know, I think it's about like staying the course and showing up every day. And
Yeah,
even if you're not playing a big show that week, still get the pencil and paper out or the voice recorder and get the
yeah.
ideas out and I'm a prolific recorder. I don't know if you are.
I go through seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of ebbs and flows for me, like uh when I'm in a season like this where it's been about the release cycle and the singles, I can't think about anything else. My
Nothing
brain
new.
my brain is like a schedule the next 7 days, the things I got to do, people I got to call, and knowing full well that, in a month's time when the record's been out for a couple months and things are tapering off a bit, that I'm going to be able to allow myself to not think about booking shows in Europe and not think about sending an email to so and so at Spotify, and I'll just be able to sit down and pick up the guitar.
Yeah.
Because I can't really do both. I mean, I guess again in one sense, like I'm playing every day. The guitar is there. The guitar has always been first for me,
Yeah.
and so I'm playing every day, and I'm not necessarily recording songs, but that voice memo is like full of guitar licks, and it's like, okay, well, that's a cool progression there. And then, when I'm on a plane to a show somewhere, I'll sit there and flick through them and make notes and be like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
I got to come back to that one
The new
because
list.
June 13th, 2024 was a good day apparently, and that little seed will turn into something
Yeah.
when the time's right. But
Well, you said you're talking about doing the dad thing whenever we were talking about times for this. So,
yeah,
like, how has that changed? How's that changed life for you?
uh, I mean,
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to be
it
gone.
it's big, Well, and I've sort of just fallen into this role of being the person who's around a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Um, the year before my first daughter was born, she was a total surprise, total miracle, baby.
Yes.
Just kind of
Yes.
decided she wanted to exist. And that year, man, we were on the road like 150, like almost 200 days that year. Like the whole point at that juncture in my life was how long can the tours be? How many shows? If we're not playing every day, why are we not? Let's make it
Right.
happen. And so having kids was sort of like a forced slowdown, which was probably necessary. But yeah, I think I'm a little better when I'm moving around because I'm at home. I get a little stuck in these feedback loops, but it's also just been the saving grace. Man, there's
I always,
nothing more
always,
humbling than having kids.
yeah.
They're the
Yes.
great teachers.
Yeah. And you either having the worst day and they just say something silly or you could have just played the biggest show ever they hurt their toe and they could
Dude,
give a shit less about which
there's no
band.
bullshit with kids. There's no bullshit. I don't like that guitar lick daddy. Like there's no nothing to hide behind. It's really cool. They're just the sweetest little humans.
I always tell people I always drove home a lot faster than I
Yeah,
drove away. And
yeah, yeah, but also I'm just so much more conscious of it. Like I'd be like, oh yeah, 10 hours through a whiteout blizzard, sure, let's go. Man, if it's not looking good, I screw it. The
yeah,
500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not worth it because I
yeah,
want to go home at the end of the tour.
right.
And so I'm a little more conscious of that, and maybe stressed would be the right word. Yeah, so
It's nice to have something out there that you're kind of. It's not that you're doing it for them, but it's like you there's some meaning there
there is a
to
purpose.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like whether it's trying to make them proud or if it's trying to, like you said, pay the bills or whatever it is, like you're trying to honor them by going out and working as hard as you can.
yeah,
And then, and I used to tell my wife, I was like, I'm not gonna, or I tell the other guys, like, don't post pictures of us having way too much fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because she's at
yeah,
home
yeah,
hammering it
yeah,
out.
yeah,
But, I wanted to go out and experience everything too.
yeah,
And,
100%.
but it was, but yeah, kids.
What? Yeah.
Now I have an 18-year-old and a 16
Well,
year old and a
yeah,
12-year-old, and I've got one that played his first gig a couple weeks ago,
nice.
and that is a total full circle. My wife thinks I'm ruining his life kind of moment.
You might be. So my grandparents were country singers their whole lives,
Really?
and
You never had a chance.
on my grandfather's deathbed, he leaned over and said, "Do something else." And I said, I
Not a
can't.
chance.
Like it's not this. This is just what it is. And one of the reasons I started doing this too, getting back to the kids thing here. I mean, my dad was sort of just a blue collar guy. He was a carpenter by trade, and when he was fairly young, he locked into this union job working at the school board, being a locksmith, and he was doing what he needed to do to provide for his family. And I don't, I can safely say I don't think it was what he wanted to do with his life. I've asked him since, like, what would you have rather done? But I watched him spend his whole life
Yeah.
doing this thing he didn't love. And
Well,
I looked at that and I was like, man, I got to do what I love. Like, that's one way, yeah, but it's also I want to teach my kids too. It's like, no, like chase the things you love, and
it's hard.
it
You
is.
can't just say I want to do a thing and it happened. Like I, and
No,
that's the other
man.
thing I've tried. It's like your dad. When I tell my son like he didn't make the baseball team or something, and I'm like, do you know how many times I went to Nashville and got a yes? Like it was like 1 out of 100 times, and that was a yes to the second meeting, maybe. It was like I'm like it's gonna like you're gonna face that stuff forever, and in
Yeah,
everything you do.
yeah.
But yeah, there was a video I saw online. It was some movie, and the guy said, uh, "How much did they pay you to uh, to give up on your dream?" It's like, and it basically he was saying you wanted to be a French chef or something like that,
Yeah.
but you quit because of this money you were chasing. So so what did it cost for you to give up? And the guy kind of looked there like, yeah, I did. I took the money and I gave up the happiness.
And that's like, you know what, man? That's a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah,
You
it's
look at
totally
that,
sane.
it makes a lot of sense, and I think about it every day.
My dad
You
thought I
know,
was crazy when I quit my job, and he's like, "You're leaving retirement and security," and I'm like, and eventually he was like, he said, "I don't really understand," because he was a very much like show up, go to work, do the stuff. Uh, but he said, you have to make something every day, and I get that. While I don't understand it, and it's not me, I get it. Like
hmm
you can't just go do the same thing every day.
yeah.
ADD is my superpower, man. Like it, like it's like I, it does. Like you said, it's probably smart to go get a job and be a professional and do all those things. But
But I am a professional.
yeah, well, you're right.
You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
like, and that's what I always come back to. Like, it's weird, this thing in North America, the idea of the artist. It's like we're
Our,
like a court jester or
we
something,
shit all
you
over it,
know?
man.
And it's it's so funny. Like we go over to Europe and you go to some town you never been to and you play this little bar on a Tuesday night and there's like 30 people there and the place is full
Yeah,
and they're all paying to get in. And then you go up there on stage, I'm just like, what in the hell are these people doing here? Because artists and the arts are still held in high esteem in culture there. And I say this to people all the time. It's like if a European band showed up in Toronto on a Tuesday night, there'd be nobody there.
yeah.
You
Well,
know, North
it
America, there's this thing going on right now where it's just like the artist is just not, I don't know, it used to be like a worthy profession.
we need some Medicis. We need some people
Yeah.
to to fund it. But yeah, well, and I was talking to that visual artist, and I said, dude, what was it like being the artist in grade school and in high school? And he's like, I was the weird kid, And I was like,
Same
isn't that
here.
crazy that you could be that you're the person who has all these gifts,
Yeah.
but you're the weirdo.
Yeah, man. I was the same way. I was the kid in the hallway with the guitar. I was a loser. I was strumming the chords during lunch hour. And, I always kind of felt like an outsider, still kind of do. I don't know if that's ever going to go away for me, but um, I don't know, man. Yeah, I always, yeah, more and more with the kids. I mean, life's hard to begin with. I think you should just find the things you love. It sounds so friggin' cliche, but my
Cliches are there for a reason.
my kid talks about, well, what's a good job? And it's like, you know what? A good job is like where you go to work and you do something you enjoy. Because if you do that, you're never going to work a day in your life. And it's like,
Yep.
it's super lame to say that, and that's not to say there's days where I absolutely hate this thing.
No.
Because like, of course I do, but that's everything, and that's just the human experience, you
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah. We're going to take stuff for granted, and we're going to, and we're going to look past stuff, and we're not going to take it all in every now and then. But
And part of it too is just like I think learning to kind of dance with it and learn the ebbs and flows of it. Because yeah, there's seasons for everything. Right
yeah,
now, it's really fun. We put out this record. Like it's coming down now, but we were up to like 36,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which I never had more than like 10,000
yeah.
5 months ago. And for a guy with just me, no team behind me, I was going like, what in the hell? This is crazy. I couldn't even have dreamt that we'd get to this point. Um, yeah.
And then, like you said, it you can
And then next
either
week or next month, it's like who knows?
well, and you try not to become enamored with that.
It's hard not to. Yeah,
Yeah,
you sort of have to just like I say, you just got to roll with it.
it's
And
going to do what it does, and
exactly.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep doing what I do.
And
Well,
tomorrow I'm
man,
going to wake up, I'm going to pick up the
what's
guitar and I'm going to start writing again.
what's 2025 look like?
Looking well, busy, but I'm going to try and not be quite as busy as this year. Yeah, we're going to just be working on actually touring this record.
Okay,
We're going to be trying to hit every part of Canada. Uh, Strategically, go out for 5 or 6 shows at a time. I'm going to start by going out to Alberta in January. Um, Alberta is kind of north of Montana, out
okay.
there, out west. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff around Western Canada and the prairies, and then head out east in Eastern Canada, and just start working with a couple agents in Europe. So we're going to go over to Europe twice next year. Got a festival over there next fall. Yeah, it's hopefully get back to England. Hopefully go to a few places I've never been. That's another thing for me too. I'm still kind of addicted to the travel.
Checking the boxes off.
Yeah, man.
Have
Like
you
I've
been to
never been to.
Kentucky?
I was in Kentucky in February, man.
Okay,
Yeah. We Valentine's Day was the first show of the tour.
okay.
Uh,
Where'd you play?
we played in Louisville, uh, in Lexington. Louisville was at the Monarch, I think, was the place.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It's a great place.
Yeah, we did Lexington. We did the Lost River sessions down in Bowling Green, which was
Yes.
just those folks were just awesome. The show
Oh
was
yeah.
awesome. We did a bunch of videos with them. I think we just had the 3 shows in Kentucky.
I need to get you to the barn
Man, we
in
loved it down
October.
there. We loved it down there. We made some good friends. Um, Had some great shows in Tennessee too. Uh, I really like Oklahoma a lot. We played at the legendary at the Blue Door,
Yeah.
um, which was just yeah, it was unreal.
Yeah,
to
there's
play on that
so many
stage.
venues that are still on my list that I
Man,
haven't.
yeah, we checked off a bunch on this tour that I've been looking at for like 10 or 15 years, and it was just surreal to go to some of these spots. Even if there was whatever 15 people there, I'm playing the Blue Door on the same stage where Guy and Gil and all these people played. I'm a part of that legacy and that tradition now.
Right.
Um, it feels pretty crazy. And went to a whole bunch of places we'd never been before. Like never played in Delaware, Maryland, Montana, um, Wyoming. Really like Wyoming a lot. It was
Yeah.
a real trip. So there's a bunch of places next year. The tours aren't fully fleshed out, so a bunch of places over in Europe I'm hoping to get to. And like even like it's like I'm sky's the limit, man. Like you tell me where you want to see me play, and
We'll
I'll
figure it out.
challenge accept. You want me to come to Brazil? I was like,
Yeah.
somebody was like, hey, come play in Brazil. Nobody tours in Brazil. And I was like, I was on bands in town trying to see, okay, where are the folk shows happening in Rio de Janeiro? Let's make it happen. Like, why not? Why can't
Yeah.
this music go those places?
I love that because that that's what holds everybody back is they look at the why not.
And it's small. I mean, I look at my grandfather's career. He used to charter little planes, little bush planes, and he would fly up into the Arctic and play in these indigenous communities up there, these little places, these little halls for 20 people. And he would have
But they
chartered this
loved it.
plane to get there. And it's just like, oh, yeah, why not? Why can't we go play in, Timbuktu? Like, let's do it. Let's
That's
go.
what I told that the response I got from my wife when I told her I was going to the UK. She was like, when? What? Why are you doing that?" I said, "Because I haven't been there yet, and if you want to go with me, let me know because I'm good. I'm starting to get it locked in. Like, let's go."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not always going to be easy. And no, you can't take a five-piece band, but it's like, that's the nice thing about doing the singer-songwriter thing. That this it has movement. Like we just did a handful of full band release shows, and that was awesome. Most of the time these days we're touring as a duo with myself and my dobro player Miles Zerwell, who's awesome and was a big part of the record. Um, but
Keeping a
I
full band fed and on
it's
the road is that's
man,
expensive.
and these days, like whatever 2016, 2017, even then it made a little more sense. But like to get a hotel room, again, the hotels are twice as much as they used to be.
Well, and we were like, yeah, we were. You're competing. I was competing with a lot of Nashville acts, so it was like
Yeah.
$200 a show minimum.
Oh yeah, dude.
To each person, and yeah, it was. It's a tough road, man.
It's a lot of mouths to feed. It's a bigger van. It's all these things. So yeah,
And are you serving the song like So sometimes it's like depending, like you said, depending on where you're going.
I mean, people love a full band show. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah,
We brought the full band show to my hometown, and people here had only ever seen me play as a solo or a duo, and they were like, "Man, that was crazy. That was a wall of sound. I didn't know you could do that." And it's like, yeah, we can do that. Just no one wants to pay for that to happen, and I
yeah,
can't. In that show, I paid to make that show happen. We didn't make no
yeah,
money on that show.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I would love to have a full band every night.
I remember hearing that Charles Wesley Godwin. There was a period of time right before things just kind of really broke for him, where he was losing like $15,000 a month,
Yep.
and but he was crazy enough to just keep, I guess, just keep swiping the credit cards and do whatever you had to do, and it's definitely paid off.
I mean, I don't, yeah, I don't love living in that position, but it sort of lights a fire into your ass. You're like, there's no other way than for this to work, you know?
Yeah,
Um, and I kind of feel that too. Like when we start booking a tour in Europe or whatever, it's like, okay, we've made a decision to make this happen. Now, yeah, we got to fill 18 days of shows for this
we
to,
got figured out.
yeah. And there's no choice. There's no plan B. My whole career has kind of been like that. There is no plan B. I didn't go to school. I dropped out of college when I was like 19, and I had toured a bit before that. But I came home and I knew, uh, yeah. So I went to a Bible college for a while. I'm no longer on that path, but one of my professors, he said this thing that had like the opposite effect I'm sure it was supposed to have, but he said, like we should be doing more of what we're created to do and less of what we're obligated to do. And that is I could get that tattooed somewhere because I've
Yeah.
stuck to that. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is not what I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm obligated to do right now. I'm dropping out. I'm going home. I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And man, there's been no plan B ever since. And so it kind of, there's been years where I'm willing this thing to life, CPR, breathing into the lungs. But, uh, right now, we're getting to coast a little bit and man, it feels really nice. And it's just
We're,
crazy to know that there's people out there listening to these songs and um, yeah, it's real wild. You put out this record, put out these new songs, and they go places you never would have dreamt. So
well, and I'm a prime example. I'm a guy from Middle Kentucky who found you just like all these other people did.
yeah, man, Kentucky's sweet. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out of Kentucky's
I
been like the hotbed the past few years.
Man, and again, I think we kind of take it for granted. Everybody here plays music. Everybody grew up around it. I live like 50 minutes from where Bill Monroe was born. So it's
Yeah,
like John Mellencamp is an hour north in Indiana. You know, it's
you're right in
yeah,
the crosshairs, man. It's
yeah.
it's
And in some ways that's great, and then at the same time, it's like it's even harder to break out in a place that's
a
really
lot
really
of
popular.
yeah, man. It's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of really cool stuff going on there. So
But the great thing is it's a great community, and we're all friends, and everybody supports each other. Now everybody can't take everybody down the road with each other,
yeah,
but we're still, it's a good place to be.
I got to
Um,
know a buddy named Dalton Mills. You know Dalton at
yeah,
all?
yeah,
We
yeah.
got to know Dalton pretty good, and
He just went to Europe, and
I know, man. I saw that. I was so happy for the guy.
he has the best mustache.
We did a couple shows in that tour in February and hung out at his place in Chattanooga, and he took us out to the Waffle House, and uh, yeah,
There you go.
we had a good time with him, man. It's
Yeah, he's a super talented guy.
just deepened our love for the great state of Kentucky and everybody from there. So
Well, then I need to get you down here. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to stay in touch with you, and maybe your routing will work out to where I can have you at our ramble that we do here
yeah,
on the farm. So
yeah. Well, I'm not sure when we're gonna get. It's like it's getting harder and harder for us to get across the border, and more expensive.
maybe Trump won't
Um,
screw that up for you.
well, who knows, man? I try and stay out of that stuff.
Yeah, you and me both.
We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah,
It's the visa process is not for the faint of heart, and but you know what? We did it once. We could do it again. So
there you go.
we'll see how it goes.
Well, man, I have enjoyed talking to you so much. I know it's
Likewise.
getting up in the evening a little bit. Um, tell everybody how to find you. What's the website?
Yeah, I mean the best place to go is zacharylucky.com. That's gonna have links to everything, or you can look at Instagram. You'll find me at Zachary Lucky. Facebook is Zachary Lucky Music. I feel like no one uses Facebook anymore, but I'm 35, so that says a lot about me. You
Listen,
know what I'm trying to do? I'm on that TikTok a lot these days, man. Uh, Zachary Lucky on TikTok. I'm posting stuff every single day.
I'm trying
And
to cross post, man. Like I'm trying.
TikTok gets a certain special stuff that none of the other platforms get because I'm not sure if the content's up to snuff for everything else, but I'm trying to post there all the time, and I'm trying to make it interesting. I'm posting a lot on YouTube. I think it's just youtube.com/Zachary Lucky, I think. And yeah, man, I'm trying to learn. This thing is like wheels turn fast in this industry. What it is today is not what it's going to be tomorrow. I haven't always been the best at keeping up with the changes, but I'm trying real hard to just like to stick with it and make stuff, not just songs that are good, but trying to make content, videos, and writing that is good and interesting to interact with.
Stuff that's not just disposable. It'll stand
Exactly.
on its own two
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah, man. So
Well,
I'm
guys,
all around.
people that are listening. One of the best things you can do is go to his website and buy his records. Buy his merch.
Yeah.
Every little $30 here and there,
Yeah,
that
man.
fills up the gas tank and gets them to the next town. Uh,
100%.
and and again, go stream and do all those things. But if it's fine to stream, but maybe go ahead and just download it too if you really like it. So
Obviously, that's a huge help. ZacharyLucky.bandcamp.com. That's the place for all that. And but yeah, appreciate everybody, I tell people, it's like, you know what, subscribe on YouTube is just as much as buying a record these days. So
Yeah.
it's appreciate everybody out there who's getting on board and listening to the songs however they're doing it. So
All right, buddy. Well, I'm a fan, and
I
I'm
appreciate
gonna
you, man.
share, and I'll anything you have going, I'll share away and try to help as much as I can, buddy.
Oh man, I appreciate you. It's man, it's so good. That's what this past year I've been able to like connect with so many different people I've met on Instagram and all these different places, and I just love it. It's
It,
this.
it,
It
it
feels like the
is.
family is just growing. We're adding another chair to the table, man.
Well, it's the Wild West. But there was a time when you couldn't just cold email people, and I think we've all gotten real used to direct messaging and all that kind of stuff, and I think people are more open to respond to things now because of social media. So yeah, I think it can be a friendlier place to be.
Yeah, if you want it to be, man, that's what it comes down to. It is what it is what it you want it to be, and like you look at guys like John Moreland, man, that guy will write you back any day of the week. It's awesome. He doesn't
Yeah,
have to do that. Uh,
Sierra Pharrell's responded to a question I asked her. It's like,
does not have to do that. But I
no,
want to be that kind of artist who's like, somebody writes me like, "Oh, what's with the capo and the tuning on that song?" It's like, "Here, let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly how to
yeah,
do it."
here's the tabs.
Because as a kid, I would have loved to have that, and that's not where it was back then. You couldn't do that. There was a
No,
wall, and man, I think we're fortunate. Like
yeah.
it's
Oh, I think it's the best of time.
yeah. I think it's a whole bunch of things, but I think we're where we are, and we're pretty lucky that it's is what it is. So
All right, buddy. Well, hey, I'm going to turn you loose. Guys, everybody go check out Zachary Lucky. And thank you all so much for watching every damn Friday. We'll have a new episode every Friday. And I'll try to keep bringing you great people like Zachary. So thank y'all so much.
thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.